Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is one of my favorite games of all time. In fact, to this day, Red, Blue, Rescue Team, and Sky are my favorite Pokemon games. I find that a lot of people on YouTube don't have much to say about these games. A shame really, since the story these games have are incredible. The emotional journey of one day becoming a Pokemon and set out to explore a world where you interact with Pokemon as people, rather than from the perspective of a trainer raising a pet to fight. The Pokemon Mystery Dungeon franchise has been popular enough to have its stories translated into a myriad of different mediums to experience the game's story, such as in the form of a manga or anime. Well, it's actually a lie. To make this clear from the start, all these different adaptations are glorified advertisements. Nothing wrong with that. Most modern anime is created just to promote the original source material, which could be a manga or even a visual novel. Most turn out great and help skyrocket sales for the source material. I sure as hell wouldn't know about my favorite series today, ReZero, without the anime adaptation bringing light to a series made by an author who originally started writing it for fun, back when it was just a web novel. He's a butcher as well, so that might actually explain his obsession with death. You know, the people making these large-scale ads should really pat themselves on the back, knowing they transformed something into a different medium and made it good enough for people to want to continue the story. While they are advertisements, they don't feel that way because the ad already gave you a taste for what the series is like or might be like in the future, giving you that unconscious push to look into the original story without being explicitly told to do so. Marketing 101, ladies and gentlemen. But getting back on topic, these different adaptations are glorified advertisements. The different adaptations of the Mystery Dungeon stories we will be looking at today were made to simply spread awareness about the games, letting people know they exist and whatnot. I still think they'll be an interesting look as some of these stories give a unique twist to the original games' stories, allowing us to see the characters of the world in a new light. But don't expect these short stories to rival the game because, unlike most anime adaptations, they don't. For the purposes of this video, we'll review each of the different Mystery Dungeon stories separately to look at how they stand on their own. Then, we'll be pitting them against one another to find out which one was the best out of the ones we looked at. Now, with all those silly formalities aside, let us see what Pokemon Mystery Dungeon looks like in different mediums. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Ginji's Rescue Team. First, we'll start with how Ginji's Rescue Team's manga came into fruition. It was first published in the Japanese Koro comics in 2005. Then, it was later translated and published in Nintendo Power in 2006. Although, this was only North America, as over in the UK, the comic was published in Jetix magazine. Interesting trivia, considering I always knew Jetix as the weird TV station that aired old anime cartoons in the West. The Mystery Dungeon issues ran from September 2006 up until February 2007 in Nintendo Power under the issues 207, 208, 209, 210, 211, and 212. The manga's story and art is done by Makoto Mizuguchi, who's responsible for other Pokemon related things, for instance, the Ranger manga series, the Pokemon Pocket Edition series, another Pokemon Mystery Dungeon manga called Explorers of Flame, which we'll be looking at later on, and some other cool side series. I'll leave a link in the description of the video if anyone's really that interested in knowing what else he made. But hey, you're all in for Mystery Dungeon, so I'm sure you won't care that much. This is my boy attempt to being funny, just roll with it. Swiftly moving on from that. Something weird that I found interesting was in the Dutch translation of Ginji's Rescue Team, they accidentally left one small sentence in English. That must have left a lot of kids confused. They later compiled the 6 chapters into one short manga volume by Viz Media under the label Viz Kids, seemingly being the only Pokemon manga series produced by Viz. Dutch and France got a entirely new set of box art to go with the manga chapters. Honestly, it would have been better if they just used the official art the manga already had. I can't imagine slapping on new text in another language is more difficult than making entirely new art. Although, it does make for an intriguing piece of history in hindsight. Now, I feel enough time has passed. It's time to dive into the story. Ginji bolts home from school one afternoon to look for his birthday presents that his mom hid away. After scouring the house to no avail, the boy succumbs to sleep and wakes up as a Pokemon. He meets a Mudkip, and together, they both save a Caterpie who fell down a fissure in the woods. They then set out from there to become a rescue team, beginning by escorting Gengar to the Hill of Ancients. After a heated battle with Zapdos, they all meet Satu, who reveals that Ginji is a human and a great calamity awaits him. Sometime later, Gengar has told the legendaries and some Pokemon in the square about the Ninetales legend, revealing that Ginji is human, prompting Ginji to seek the truth by searching for Ninetales. After having his fair share of challenges in between it all, such as fighting Moltres and Articuno, Ginji meets Ninetales. She reveals that Gengar was the human from the legend and that Ginji was summoned to calm the natural disasters plaguing the Pokemon world. Though, after they defeated Groudon, things went back to normal, this time Ginji bolting to school. Now, as I said at the start of this video, the story of this manga is nowhere near as good as the original game. Not even close. It is impossible to translate a 20-hour story into a 6-chapter manga and make it as good or better than the original. With all that being said, Ginji's rescue team did a good job with the chapters they had to work with. To start with, I like how Makoto Mizubuchi decides to interpret some dungeons in unique ways. The Ariados's nest within what I'll assume to be the tiny woods was a nice fight scene that established the start of Mudkip's development. The art Mizubuchi did of the cave's surrounding area really created a sinister atmosphere, something that he pulled off splendidly in Articuno's first appearance. Malfreeze being a bit of a maze was interesting to see as well. Mizubuchi likely created these alternatives for what Mystery Dungeons looked like to get around the page limit he had. For the most part, the power scaling in the fight seemed to be alright, as well except for maybe Zapdos, who got screwed over by Mudsport. A useless move given so much power outside of the games. Pokemon never change. This manga had a myriad of changes to the story to best suit the 6-chapter format. By chapter 2, our heroes are already find Zapdos heading to the Hill of Ancients. It had its location changed from the Great Canyon to Mount Thunder. Also, just a side note, I really like how Torchic has his headband on in some of the art here, akin to how it's worn in my rescue team's promotional art. Pokemon never change. No! Torchic! 3 out of the 6 chapters focus on the Fugitive arc, the most important story arc in the games. Ginji's rescue team doesn't do this arc justice, but I think that's okay. The original game's Fugitive arc was heart-wrenching, emotional, and even inspiring in some ways. You've lost your memory in this unknown world trying to figure out who the hell you are, and when you find a lead for how you became a Pokemon, suddenly your life is at stake. All the bonds you forged, the people you met, are ready to kill you. You can neither scorn nor deny them. All you can do is run and survive. Seek the truth. You choose to believe in that truth because whether at the end it's decided if you have to live or die, at least you were able to find an answer. What really gets the tears streaming though is your partner's decision to stay with you. Them sticking with you despite everything makes it feel like you forged a real connection, like you made a real friend, making the reveal of your innocence all the sweeter. Man, did I really just went on that long of a rant? My mouth never seems to rest, scripted or not. Anyways, back to what I was saying. The manga doesn't have the same impact as you barely get to know the Pokemon from the square. What happens initially doesn't faze Ginji. Mudkip tagging along with him when Ginji is accused is more a testament to Mudkip's character rather than their friendship, since they barely get to know each other. And because the whole square aren't after Ginji, there isn't that sense of urgency like in the games. I need to breathe after that. Take deep breaths. One last negative for the road. Why is the text describing Gengar blatantly saying he's up to no good? Cringe aside, this just ruins Gengar's twist of having malicious intent. Now, you could just hop into the comments and say it was obvious or whatever. However, in my defense, we all sometimes just want to keep our suspension of disbelief. Alright? I want to end things with a note that in the games, the final challenge our heroes have to face is Rayquaza instead of Groudon. This change is fine since the Meteor plotline would have taken up too much time, and the explanation that Gengar caused Groudon's awakening, its defeat being the climax, was good enough. Ginji is your typical shonen protagonist type character, stubborn and reckless to a fault. Someone with a good heart, not particularly bright, yet always inspiring. What makes Ginji different from your average shonen protagonist is how blunt his character can be. This guy is just straight up brutal, and I love it. At the end of the story, Ginji's realization that he was summoned to a different world to solve their problems gave him the necessary motivation to potentially face school and get his grades up, since it made him realize that he has the ability to do a lot of things if he puts in the extra work. Ginji's brutal attitude inspires character growth for Mudkip, who is, as Ginji puts it, wishy-washy. Has aspirations to do big things, but when it comes time to attempt to do those things, he instead procrastinates, holding on to the desire to be better like it's some distant goal for the future. Is it sad that I relate to this so much? But by the end of the story, Mudkip becomes so much better just by trying. And I can also appreciate how wholesome he can be, like him sticking with Ginji, no doubt in his mind that he's innocent, or jumping in front of a rock to prevent Gengar from being injured, which helped Gengar realize that staying to protect Gardevoir was the right choice, because sometimes making sacrifices for those you care about is more fulfilling than being scared and selfish like he was. Gengar is also quite dubious this time around compared to the original Red Rescue Team, since his overarching goal is to awaken Groudon to destroy the Pokemon world. Gengar frames Ginji to buy time so he can awaken Groudon. He's also the one to individually tell Moltres and Articuno about Ginji's devious actions. In stark contrast to the games where he frames the player to eliminate his chances of being found out as the human from the Ninetales' legend. The legendary birds' characterizations aren't much different from how they were portrayed in the games, minus Articuno, who is given somewhat of a personality. Articuno is shown to be slightly more cautious in contrast to Moltres and Zapdos. Zapdos is mostly a mindless beast with a lot of power. In my opinion, Moltres is quite gullible, quickly believing what Gengar has to say and reaffirming Gengar's beliefs to itself when he thinks Ginji is doing something slightly unfavorable. Articuno was the only Pokemon they couldn't beat. It's only thanks to Absol that they convinced Articuno to let them go free. Absol is hands down my favorite character in the manga. This is a rare case where the manga outshined the games. Absol's character here is shown to empathize with Ginji, as he was also outcasted by the spread of strange rumors, it being about how he's the disaster Pokemon, one who brings calamity wherever he goes. It gives him a clear motivation for why he decides to help Ginji on behalf of saving the Pokemon world and saving him from Articuno. The game simply left his character quite ambiguous, him joining the party as an ally, to which we never learned anything further regarding Absol. Alakazam's team was added last minute into the story, and I'm just wondering, what did they do to you, Alakazam? Tyranitar and Charizard are pretty much the same because they didn't have much character to begin with, so you can't exactly screw up what didn't exist in the first place. Alakazam got done dirty though. Maybe it's how his lines were translated, like here where he talks about how Mudkip has grown from being a weakling, just makes me cringe. Him calling Mudkip a weakling comes off as Alakazam being full of himself. When you're forced to become fugitives in the games, Alakazam wants to get rid of you. However, he understands the situation you're in and gives you time to run away to find the truth. He wishes you the best instead of, here wait, it feels like he's mocking them. Finally, looking at the various Pokemon from the Pokemon Square, the characters are non-existent here. You know what? Fair play to Makoto Mizuguchi. It's understandable since it is a lot of characters and their main purpose was to serve as NPCs that would allow you to buy items and equipment for your adventures. Though, it would have been nice to at least see Pelipper. A decent adaptation. Ginji's rescue team is not perfect, carrying over some of Rescue Team's faults like the Pokemon from Pokemon Square being dry characters, no individual personality in sight. The manga's length leading to changes in the story such as Ginji just not caring about what is happening, even though we as readers are supposed to have an investment into his story. Regardless, in its limited runtime, it managed to do characterization better than Red and Blue Rescue Team. There being a visible dynamic between Torchic, Mudkip, and Absol's friendship with one another, the manga using a lot of subtlety to develop the characters, and boy does it work. This one is definitely a strong contender for being Pokemon Mystery Dungeon's best ad. If you're looking to read this manga, Amazon has some good prices. So look there preferably and not eBay. They're really trying to scam people with that shipping cost. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Team Go-Getters out of the gate. Team Go-Getters Out of the Gate was created by Team Koetsubashi, named after the lead animator Suka Koetsubashi. This special first aired in Japan on the 23rd of March 2007, aired on September 7th, 2006, a few months earlier in America on Cartoon Network, despite being made by a Japanese animation team. What? As far as I'm aware, there isn't any real explanation for this online, so I'll just assume they wanted to advertise the Mystery Dungeon games to a more Western audience than Japanese one. While you think this special would just be lost to time, the official Pokemon YouTube channels, both in Japanese and English, eventually uploaded this special in 2015 as sort of a small advertisement for Super Mystery Dungeon to show people that, hey, Mystery Dungeon is still a thing. I think. Uploaded on the 3rd of July on Japanese YouTube channel and October 22nd on the English YouTube channel. Our story starts with a regular human one day waking up as a Squirtle. He's greeted by a Charmander who runs a rescue team with another Pokemon, Chikorita, known as Team Go-Getters. The main purpose is to help Pokemon in need after the influx of strange natural disasters happening in the Pokemon world. And Squirtle quickly joins their rescue team. Okay, I mean, that was quick. A race against time, as their mission throughout the special is to help rescue Pichu's brother, who had been held captive by Skarmory before another rescue team known as Team Meanies. By the end, they were able to defeat Skarmory using Corsola Twigs and Squirtle gained access to a Quick Seed. The special ending with Charmander, Chikorita and Squirtle heading back to the developer's office for more jobs. Near the end, hinting to a larger narrative. Unlike Ginji's rescue team, this one reeks of advertisement. It's plastered all over it with a massive rainbow neon sign yelling it down your ears. And I can't be too mad at them, especially since animation takes a lot of time and money compared to drawing manga. Furthermore, 22 minutes really can't fully establish a story or world. So, this special just adopts a simple rescue team mission of saving Pichu's brother with some subtle hints to the original rescue team's story, such as the natural disasters plaguing the Pokemon world, and Team Alakazam in Magnan Cavern, an important location in the games. Something weird that they did was making Skarmory revert to being calm after getting roughed up, likewise to how you fought Rayquaza to calm him down. It's an idea that isn't properly explored in the games either, as Rayquaza is the only immediate example for this. Granted, exploring this idea was in no way necessary. Just thought I'd mention it. Other than that, I like how in this special, Charmander uses his fire to scare away the Shroomish in contrast to how Ginji burns the Sunkern to a crisp in the manga. To begin with, all the characters don't have much depth to them. A 22-minute special, I know. Though, similar to many other kids shows, especially of the anime variety, the characters fall into set tropes. Team Meanies being the bully characters up to no good, Team Go-Getters being an upstart rescue team with a set level of ambition to one day be the best. You know, standard stuff. Same goes for the main character, Squirtle, who's pretty much an average person. Don't take this as criticism of the character though, since the main character of the Mystery Dungeon games acts as a self-insert. Squirtle fills the role well enough. Moreover, I like Squirtle's small progression in his abilities. He wanted to learn Water Gun so desperately, but kept using Bubble instead. Eventually, he's able to use it after his failed attempts. I know it was only 2 or 3 times, but come on, they had 22 minutes. Can't expect too much out of an ad. Charmander and Chikorita have some slight differences in their personality, Charmander being the one more prone to being positive, and Chikorita being the one most likely to be easily dejected when things go wrong, like when Team Meanies ate all their items. Out of the two, Charmander is the most like your partner Pokemon in the games. To wrap up the character discussion, other characters simply get mentioned or just play minor roles in the special. Conversely, one that always bugs the hell out of me is how Lombre, Bellsprout, and Snubbull act when any rescue team besides Team Alakazam take on a rescue mission. You're not as good as the Team ACT, they're the best. I like to see you try and form a rescue team. You little... Oh no, Team Go-Getters isn't half bad honestly. Even if Ginji's rescue team had more character development and some more interesting takes on the original game's story, the anime relegating itself to one standalone story made it quite enjoyable. Even if the characters are underdeveloped, I wouldn't say that was a weak point for this special. Character being one-dimensional throughout a whole narrative is boring because you spend more time with them. Here, it's only about 22 minutes, so you won't really care. This is a fun watch for any Mystery Dungeon fan out there, and a good gateway into the series. To watch it, just search up Team Go-Getters on YouTube and you should find it on the Pokemon's official YouTube channel. Though, for all the lazy people out there, there'll be a link in the description of this video.